Welcome to the Hiring Table, your weekly dose of hiring insights, airing Fridays at 12 p.m. Pacific.
Today at the Hiring Table, we have Michelle Cucchiara. She has an active CPA license. Michelle went to Cal Poly and started at Deloitte. She worked in Deloitte audit for a few years, and then she got into private industry. She's been a consultant at her own company. She worked in public accounting at a smaller firm, and then she worked in farming, agriculture, and manufacturing for years at the director level. Welcome to the Hiring Table. And if you can just introduce yourself.
Okay, Michelle Cucchiara. I think what a lot of the locals tell me is that I did the reverse triangle. I grew up in San Jose, I went to school at Cal Poly, and then I came to Fresno. Gotcha. Once I got here, I'm here.
Yeah, this is home.
Yep.
Yeah, family here.
I do now. They actually ended up moving here. Yeah.
Well, good. Awesome. Welcome. And so today's all about hiring. We want to talk about some of the challenges and strategies and things that you've been through in your career as it relates to hiring accounting and finance professionals. Aligning decisions is critical with the strategy of the company. If you can share some of that with us, how you align the future, the vision of the company with your hiring strategies for accounting.
It really does depend what the organization wants to achieve. So as far as hiring, key to that is timing, is getting the right people on board at the right time and knowing when that's coming. So a lot of that is just looking at the growth strategy of the company and timing things out. Some of the companies here in the Valley don't necessarily want a lot of growth. They might want to stay kind of where they're at and just stay top of their game. So that also has different hiring decisions. You might want to bring somebody in who has the skill set already, who can just kind of maintain it, versus an organization that wants to grow, bringing some in at a slightly lower skill level and have them grow with the company.
I think that's really important, the type of person that you bring in and what they're looking for in their career, and if that aligns with the 3-year, 6-year prognosis of what that department needs for the company. Aligning that's absolutely critical. And sometimes it's the other way. It's like you have to hire the skill set that is better than everybody else's because you need to make a huge impact in that department and change with a growing company. The skill set for today, skill set for tomorrow, and that alignment. It's not easy to do.
And things change, not only for organizations, companies, but also for individuals. I would never want to bring somebody in who's, looking for a fast-paced career growth, wants to be on a track, and that's just not where the organization's at. You might have them for a year or two, but it won't last any longer.
Yeah, and then distance, commute, competitive compensation, benefits, bonuses, all of that stuff comes into play. How do you keep up with the compensation in the market when looking to hire maybe a manager?
Well, these days there's so many tools online to see what you can find out. But for me, it's also usually just calling peers in similar industries and sometimes even other industries in the area and just seeing what their findings work or where they need to be at.
Yeah, and also taking job offers for yourself in your experience. Have you had any compensation negotiations go on? Have you had people lowball you in job offers and things like that? And how do you deal with a lowball offer?
Compensation is one piece of the puzzle. So if everything else is great and it's just the compensation, I'll negotiate. Negotiations is just that, right? I always have kind of a minimum. If you can't get to that, then it's just not a good fit.
That's so true. And there's a guy his name's Adam. I'm not sure if you met Adam Trujillo, but he was here recently. And one of the things he said was be okay with not getting the job. That was very powerful. You walk in with the mindset, knowing your value and being able to let them know, hey, this is what I need in terms of comp. And if they're okay with that, we can go forward.
And that's very true.
Yeah.
And so yes, knowing what you're comfortable with.
And having standards for yourself.
Yes.
And staying true to those. And then you might not be the best performing employee either.
Well, and that's just it. That's what I mean. It ends up not being a good fit. So
Yeah.
you just might as well kind of tackle that on the front end and save everybody.
Yeah, it always gets me when somebody does take a job and then 6 months later they want to make a move because it wasn't a good fit because of compensation.
Yeah.
But it does happen. Be steady in your decisions when going to interviews.
Well, and someone gave me really good advice a long time ago when it comes to looking for a job, especially if you're at one that's okay. You're at a decent job, you've been doing it. If there's ever that question or doubt, the phrase was just sit down. Just take a breather, because already your instincts are probably telling you it might not be the right fit.
And follow your gut is a real thing.
Yes, it is a real thing.
So what's the biggest hiring mistake you've made in your career? What'd you learn from it?
Probably the biggest one that I made was hiring for skills and almost skills alone in a particular situation. And it did not work well. And what I've learned is, over time especially, is technical accounting skills. They can be taught. You can't teach or change someone's core personality or how they interact with others. At the time, I needed someone very technical, and I got that, but it didn't work out.
What about like assessments? Do you do assessments when hiring staff?
I try not to. And I'm old school. This is what it goes back to, is because if I put myself in that position, that would make me very nervous. I'm a much bigger proponent, again, of having them meet the people, see if they fit into the culture, and not just who they're going to work with, but some people randomly from other departments, and just see the fit. Because again, the technical I can do more with. Now, if I've got something where it's like real basics, I have had to do that. In the past, I had to hire for a position a couple times, and I'm like, all right, enough's enough. So I had to come up with just real basic journal entry, debit, just basics that I had assumed they'd come in with, even at that level. So sometimes it's a necessary. I call it a necessary evil.
It's like good and bad. And that's why every time we talk about assessments, are you okay with taking assessments? And instead of just forcing it on them, some people, it freaks them out, but they still can do the job. They understand debits and credits really well. But some other people are just hiding the fact that they're not strong in that area. So assessments
some of us just
are
aren't
good.
good at tests, though.
That's right.
And I'm one of going through school. Tests were hard for me. It's like I could do it. Luckily, I got out in the world and I could prove it. But yeah, for some of us, tests are just kind of like this block.
What does it mean to you when hiring, you don't know somebody till you live with them? So how much time do you take during the interview process to get to know somebody?
Depends on the level of position. So the lower the level, I don't feel I need as much time necessarily. But definitely if it's a higher up, a manager, to me there's like a pace to an interview. Or not just an interview, but the process of hiring. The pace should never be too rushed. And sometimes that happens because we've had someone leave and we just want someone to fill it. And that's when I stop and go, okay, Michelle, are you looking for a body or are you looking for a replacement that's going to last? Because I catch myself too. So I think some of that is taking the right amount of time, having them meet other people. Because again, someone can be really strong technically, but if they don't fit into the culture and there's not good communication and just interactions, you haven't won.
Well, some of the contract to hire stuff works. If the person happens to not be working, that's always something. You can give them a good week.
For both sides.
Both sides. Are you sure you want to work here? Get to know us a little bit, and it really kind of saves a headache down the road. Now, usually the person has some really good skills, so they can jump in and help, so that week isn't just necessarily wasted. Getting to know each other is just the biggest focus. Interacting day in, day out, asking questions, working together, collaborating, joining meetings.
Even doing that for a month or two, especially at the higher level. When I interview, it's like I'm looking out for me, but I'm also kind of trying to put myself in their shoes. Am I a good match? Because there's been a few times where I've even been given an offer and I said, I don't know that this is really ideal for both parties. And that's what it has to be.
I hired for a huge agriculture company, and the CFO would always do a 6-month contract to hire. And these people had been freelancers in their career, and so they wanted to get back into full-time, stable income. So they said, I'll do full-time 6 months. I'll prove myself and make sure it's a good fit overall. They both got hired. It worked out really well. Had the opportunity, and then to negotiate compensation after 6 months, negotiate it up because they came in at a little bit of a lower rate, and it was a good relationship at the end of the day. I think the evaluation period in the beginning is critical. Personality assessments, there's some really good ones out there. Have you used any of those in your career, or have you taken any of those?
I've done them for my own self-growth or knowledge. I mean, it helps point out things that you might not have seen, like communication style and things like that. So I've done them more for self-growth. I haven't really used them as a key tool in finding people. And mostly because you'd almost have to do it with everyone else at the same time that you have already on your team, because it's going to be a matter of how it meshes.
One of them, the popular assessments, is the DISC assessment.
Right. That's good.
Yeah, and I've done it for myself too, for my career. For myself, I've done the Myers-Briggs, the DISC assessment, predictive index. Also met with like an industrial psychologist to kind of understand my work style. And so it was very interesting process. Very telling. You get to know about yourself, uncover things that you just literally didn't know about yourself.
Until they're pointed out, it's hard.
It was very interesting. All right. Lasting impact for a single hire on an organization. Do you have somebody that comes to mind?
I was at a company where a hire at a mid-level into the accounting area had a huge impact with the accounting department, and I would dare say also impacted operations. It's amazing what changing one person in a team can do.
Was it an improvement in skill set or soft skills?
It was both. They had the technical skills to back their knowledge, but being personable with his team, the ones under him, it really helped reestablish some relationships with operations, with other areas. It helped build the fact that we were producing reliable numbers that they could count on, because that had been one of the issues before I'd gotten there. And so I had done my part to kind of start that and was able to hire this person in probably within 6 months of me being there. And so I just think the ability to roll that all together, and there's so often a disconnect between accounting and core operations. And to me, that's like one of the biggest problems, because a lot of times accounting is thought of as the back office. I like to have more of a role and have my team be more of a role of, well, no, we can give you some pretty valuable information as things are going, more of the strategic, the help, and that doesn't always happen.
It's interesting looking at other people and how they've made an impact. What is the project that you've done that you were the most proud of? How did you make an impact on an organization? Because you've been in primarily management roles for quite a bit of years.
My first transition out of Deloitte into private, because I started in one position, and just due to some retirement, someone left, I got to step up my career and the level quickly. I branched out and was the interim director of the IT, and I got to do a lot of things that, now I'd almost be like, ooh, I don't know. And back then I was like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
So timing-wise was great, but I was also very proud at the end of the day. We implemented a large software project. I was an accountant. My friends will tell you I'm not the best at IT. I mean, sometimes I have my technical challenges. So they were humored by the fact I was in charge of IT and doing this, basically the project manager for a large implementation. We did it on budget, on time, and that's while I was still juggling my accounting managerial roles with a really strong team. Those couple of years were a lot of work, but we got a lot done.
So managing IT, did the IT department do something for the company? You said they transitioned software programs?
Yes.
So it was like an ERP implementation?
Yes.
And it was a successful launch?
Yes, it was.
How long did it take you to feel like, hey, we successfully launched?
Well, we had very strict criteria as we were going through the project, and we fell behind in the beginning a little bit, but we caught up and made it. And we did it. The software company told us, you can't do it. You can't do it that fast. And I said, if you guys will keep up with me, we're going to try. And we did. I mean, as soon as we did the go live, it was just a huge sigh of relief.
Yeah, and so that's a big job because, I mean, human resources typically is involved with change management and managing staff, getting people to do what you need them to do in implementations. But it sounds like you own that. For your current hiring and your last position, does HR do the recruiting? Do you work with them? Your hiring process when it comes to interviews, setting up, sourcing resumes, writing the job description, the job offer. Tell me about your process.
Well, what if I tell you about my desired process?
Okay.
I personally like to have HR involved. I've either proofed, if not written, the job descriptions because I need to tell them and be specific. Here's what I'm looking for. Can you help me find it? I prefer with HR if they can do the first pass. If they can throw that net out, see what comes in, and do a first filter. Because I am amazed at the times when I've been in a position where I've had to do that. How many people apply for a job that
don't qualify?
Not at all.
It's not even their area of expertise.
No, and sometimes I want to be like, okay, nice try, but
Yeah.
but it's very time consuming to sort through that. So if HR can at least do that first sort. Now, if I'm hiring the controller, the manager, if it's someone who's going to work for them, I like them to narrow it down to 3 maybe. Have them come in and do an interview with them and the other staff. I want them to recommend to me who they want to work with. Once I get the 3, I will surely give my opinion. I'll want to see their resumes. I also want to meet them with the group. I want to watch, for lack of a better excuse.
You don't want to shake up your culture.
I want to see how they interact. Now, they've already narrowed it down. I'm also a huge proponent of when you get it narrowed down, having the candidates come in back to back. It doesn't have to be literally, but within a week or so, seeing all of them. Because if you see one, you're like, oh, they were great. I've done this before in my past. Oh, that was great. And then a week or so, 2 later, you get another candidate, and you're like, oh, this was really good. How does it compare to the other one?
You don't know.
It's almost like it was, I mean, granted, I've got my notes and I remember key things, but I like to have them for everyone's sake, on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or something. But let's get it in and let's do it.
We've written a process that works really well, and it's a perfect world process. It is back-to-back. It is same-day interviews, and it's no more than a 4-hour time block. Even if you're hiring a controller, you're going to meet 3 people. And if you feel like you have enough option there, then you can certainly take 1 or 2 to the final or to a next step. You do remember and recollect all that information in real time, and you can have your meetings follow up. It takes a commitment to hire. Some companies don't have the time to really do that. It does delay the hiring process that we've seen.
And just to finish your question, because it started with kind of the HR process, I also like HR to get involved at the end. If we've got it narrowed down, I also want HR to look at those final ones, because their experience has them looking through a different viewfinder. They see different things. So it's great if the team is agreed and we've at least got it down to these 2 or 3 maybe. That's when I want HR to come back in with kind of a weigh-in of having met them and talked with them briefly. And then as far as offer letter, I like to see that done through HR to some degree. Obviously, if there's going to be some negotiations, I need to be involved. But when it comes down to, okay, let's get the stuff going, that's their specialty.
Thank you for sharing. Have you used AI, and has it done done anything for you?
I have used AI on a limited basis. It can be very helpful. I am so old school. It's tough. And you're missing that human, that piece of it. I mean, for years, it's been used on resumes. Of people turning in resumes and they're looking for keywords and key phrases. And to me, that's leaving too much. I think you might be missing out on a whole lot of other people in a pool by just filtering that way. And I see that's what's going to happen in the future. It's going to become even more so. I'm more of a people person as far as getting to know someone for hiring.
When I look at a resume, I look at opportunity. And even if there's like some job movement or something going on, everybody has a story in different phases of life. So I always have a phone call. I talk to a lot of people. So having the phone call is just really an opportunity to hear their voice and understand what their story is. And then if that goes well, I'll call them in for an interview and then we'll take it from there. A lot of times you can recommend that person if you get to know them to the point where you're like, this person is going to do a good job, they're going to be reliable, and it makes sense for them to work full time.
I don't think AI has figured that out yet.
No.
They're going to. I get it. My thought's going to have to shift too. But to me, it leaves out a big element.
It definitely does. Winning teams and divisions, best team you've ever been a part of in the workplace that you built, you were proud of?
I've got a couple. I've had the opportunity to work with some really good people. And I think one of my things when you're talking about teams, most of my situations I've gone in and the team's already been in place. And so in some ways it's up to me to fit in with them. And I acknowledge that and work towards that. And everyone's got strengths and weaknesses. One of my best teams, results-wise especially, was when I actually remapped who did what based on what they wanted to do. I would go in and I'd be working with someone or we'd be doing something new and I could almost see some of the others like, oh, what's going on? And it dawned on me, I'd been there probably close to a year, I hate to say it. This was early in my career when I realized, I wonder if they're all doing what they want to be doing. I literally called them in and kind of interviewed them and let's go through. I know these are the things you do. Are there some things that you love that you would never want to give up? Are there things you'd like to trade? That's how I termed it. And it was amazing. Like, I got somewhat lucky because when I mapped that all out between 4 individuals, a lot of them could keep the things that they want to keep, and the trades were like, they're willing to give up this and they'd like to learn that. So that was a huge eye-opener for me of like, just don't assume that they've been doing it, they want to do it.
You don't work a day in your life when you enjoy what you're doing.
And it's true, isn't it?
And it's also cross-training.
And that's another really key thing, is if everyone is just in their little slots, it does no one any favors when they leave. Because we know here in the Valley, it's probably getting better at some places, and I know I've gotten better when I go somewhere. Documentation. All of it is up in their head. So when that role leaves, especially when they're really good, because it's like, we didn't know what they were doing because they just did it. You don't know what you don't know. So for me, I had a couple, instances in my career, and someone's moving. You can't convince them to stay. You can if they were just trying to look for another job because they wanted to do some different things.
What about a resignation, time frame wise? When you're a corporate controller, is it 2 weeks? Is it 30 days?
I'm old school. It's 30 days. I can't imagine. And that was established so that you could get someone else in and train. We know in this day and age, you're not going to find a replacement in 30 days. So you giving 30 days minimum is at least to get through another cycle, to allow the company to put someone else as a resource for you to show them some things. Give them some time to start a search, and if a company does it right and someone gives a 30-day notice, they have someone shadow them.
And it's good for training and acclimation and that kind of stuff. Hand off, tricks of the trade,
it's the right thing
all
to
that
do.
stuff, you have to pass it down. So it does take time.
So how many times do you hear of someone doing on the spot? Because to me, that's a new thing.
On the spot, if a CPA license is at stake, I've seen people walk off the job same day.
Or if you're being asked to do something that's immoral, illegal,
And I would say for corporate controller, I've seen 2 weeks.
Okay.
I've seen probably 50, 2 weeks. And then I've seen like 30 days, and I've also seen 6 weeks. I've had people ask for more, but it kind of gets in the way of like timeline for the hiring company. So it just all depends.
Right.
It's situational. Time of year, all of that stuff. And taking it back a couple of years, when you were getting your CPA license, our listener groups are also like new grads from Fresno State, Cal Poly, where you went to school, or one of the other colleges, most in California. Study time, like the amount of study time that you need to get your CPA license and pass the first time. What does study look like? How much time do you commit to it?
Well, I don't know if anyone will remember earlier in this conversation when I said tests are not my thing. So for me, I needed maybe a little extra, and I have no idea if the content is still even relevant. But for me, it was a lot of time. I literally graduated actually in December from Cal Poly and started the second week in January with Deloitte. So I didn't do any of that between college and starting. So I I jumped 2 feet into Deloitte, and I can remember going home, working a 10-plus hour day. I would go home on a Monday night. I would order a pizza, go straight to my desk, try not to do the couch, straight to my desk at home, and study for hours. Eat a few slices of pizza, go to bed, get up, do the same thing. I did that for literally months. And I did break it down. Once I learned you could get the leg up and do the 2, I did that, knocked it out, and then did the others. So I did sit for the exam. Technically, I sat for it once when I was in school, hadn't studied a lick. Almost passed. I mean, like by points. Then I kicked myself. It's like, and back in that day, you had to write an essay. And I thought, if I just had a few more of those keywords and things in my essay, I might have gotten out of the way. So I ended up sitting 3 times. Now it's totally different. Got a little disappointed when I found out I almost passed. And then I just knocked it out in the next 2. But it's commitment. It takes time. The review courses, I know back then I did some of the cram courses at the end. It was expensive, but it was worth it. Like, okay, if that's the last, like, just cram it in, take the test, and be done. Someone once said, it's kind of like your driver's license. No one asks you what you got. Right. Just ask if you passed.
You passed.
I did. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
And I've kept it current.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that surprises me sometimes with, even some of my peers in the industry, they're like, you keep it current? And I'm like, I'm proud of that. I worked hard for it. It's 40 hours of CPE a year. If you do the self-studies, it doesn't even take 40. But it's 40 hours and a few $100s every 2 years. To me, it's like, really? I mean, in the scheme of this is what I do and what I am, yeah.
That's awesome. You've touched quite a bit of industries. Transitioning to private industry, was there anything difficult about the transition itself? Coming into a company, what are some of the first things that you did or obstacles that you had?
You know, a lot of it was a mindset because I did go straight from Cal Poly, like I said, literally a week 2 later to Deloitte. And so when you're in public accounting, some of it is a get in, get out. It's a get in, learn it fast, learn what their processes are, learn what they do. And I was in audit, then audit the numbers, write up your conclusions and document your testing, and move on. It's, again, kind of that mindset. So when I first worked, happened to be a client, which helped. Then you get in there and it's almost like, okay, take a deep breath. You're not going to be able to fix everything that you want or do everything. It's not a get in, get out. This is a get in, settle, breathe. You're not just working with an audit team and the CFO or controller. You need to now work with the RNs. Yeah. You need to work with the medical director. You need to just take a deep breath and slow down, in a sense. Yeah. You have to learn the operation. I was used to learning the accounting and their systems and their processes. Now you need to learn the company, whatever industry they're in, what business they're doing. You need to learn all that.
Was this a intellectually curious thing that helped you understand that, or did you have a mentor, somebody to help you acclimate to private industry?
No, I think that was just more
exposure.
Yeah, sometimes driving home going, okay, why does this feel so weird? What is going on? It's a mind shift. You're also in the mentality of I got to hurry up and get this done because I got to move on to the next thing. And granted, that still holds true with projects and things, but it was more of like, no, you're going to keep driving to this place for a while. I've been so used to that you go a place for a few weeks or a couple months and then you move on.
Any advice you would give to the younger generation that wants to reach your level of success?
Put your time in, learn, listen. You can learn a lot by listening. Accounting is accounting, but there's different industries, there's different companies. I've had a lot of friends who say, I don't want to do accounting anymore. And I'm like, are you sure? It makes a world of difference. If something's not feeling right, be patient with it, but also try and figure out what would be better, what you think is more appealing, and maybe there's an opportunity to do something that falls within those criteria. More than once in my career, I've stopped and done a list. What is it I'm looking for? Career-wise, what is it I'm looking for? What would be the ideal opportunity? At the end of the day, it doesn't feel like it's the right move. Don't do it.
What about job hopping? Is it ever okay, especially when you don't know, like, hey, I'm not sure what industry I'm interested in, what my genuine interests are, and how to apply those. I don't know what's out there. Is it okay to do job hopping early in your career to figure that out?
What do you mean by job hopping?
I would say in 3 years, you have 5 jobs, something like that.
See, this is interesting. I have done that. Yeah. I've been places longer, don't get me wrong, but I think I have a string. If I look back at my resume, we'll go 6-7 years. Okay. But still, you've got to be where you're going to provide the most benefit. And if the place you're at is not it, I feel I've always done it as right away as possible in the sense of communicating with where I'm at to my employer, giving them enough time. I don't know if this happens a lot, but I also would keep jobs for a bit, going back or after hours, helping with a transition. I always leave a place better than I found it. Maybe I should just say that. I might have only been at a place for 1.5 years, 2 years, but if I know I've helped them do things better, clean things up, whatever the term is, and at the end I'm honest with them and give them enough time. And that goes back to the notice, though. So part of that is doing it respectfully.
You know, it's a small world here in the Valley.
Oh, it's very small.
A lot of people
Smaller
know
than
each
I
other.
realize at times.
Yeah, so you're right. So you certainly want to leave a good impression behind.
Yeah, and it is a small, I mean, you never know who you're going to run into. I think there are valid reasons for job hopping, and I think sometimes you're hired on. It's happened to me. I'm hired on, and this is what they tell me is going to be the progression and the track, especially when I was younger. I wanted to be on a kind of a faster track, and I was honest about that. This is the place for you. In a year, you're going to be here, and da-da-da-da, and you're there a year and a half, and you can tell. That first step didn't happen, and it's not going to happen. So in fairness, for me, that's when I would go back and have a conversation. It's just doing it the right way.
Did you find your passion in your career?
I think I have, and it's usually more with people than it is with industry. For me, it's been having the opportunity to work with a lot of great people.
Thank you for joining us this week at the Hiring Table. Next week's episode hosts Tom Spradling, the CFO at Cotman Technology, airing Friday at 12 o'clock p.m. Pacific.